Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. And the live stream this week, we were revisiting basically every craft that is on its way to Mars and doing our mid-course corrections to try to get ourselves lined up as best we could with Harmonia Station. We did end up checking in on all 5 of our inbound craft and trying to get them as lined up as best we could. These mid-courses are a whole lot cheaper than the way I had been doing it until this point, embarrassingly enough, by trying to dial it all in from Earth and then just ignore the spacecraft until it gets there. So I believe this is our supply rover, the only one of the 2 that made it. Yeah, based on how much Delta V it's got left, I'm just going to guess that this is the supply rover, unless somebody caught a caption on a changeover that I have missed here in post. We're just going to call this one the supply rover. And there is a good light on that HG3 engine to take care of this 60 some odd meter per second burn, which does bring us well within Mars SOI. And then we'll just dial it back with a whole lot of RCS and just kind of ease it on in there. It's still not quite perfect, but I think just by hitting I, J, K, L, H, and N keys, we can get this pretty close to where we would like it. And right about 40 some odd, 42 kilometers is usually our magic altitude for aero capture. Although this thing is, well, all of them are obscenely heavy. And we do need to bleed off about 4 kilometers per second to perform capture. We got 500 meter per second head start on that one. But with the course dialed in, a node set, and the alarm given to, oh no, it was the lab crawler. Because now I see it on my alarms list. Look at me getting everything wrong, as per usual. We're not going to gravity assist out to Jupiter with this. This is our return, or our ascent stage shield heat, Ash, the basket for our semi-reusable Mars landing system. And so this one does need to be dialed in as close to Harmonia Station as we can muster. It is going to also aero capture and then aero break its way to perform docking at Harmonia Station, where without it, well, we won't be doing a landing this window, and that would make me very, very sad. But of course, this can kind of sit in a parking orbit until we have all the lab modules down. There's no point in really destroying our frame rate at Harmonia Station by bringing this thing along if we're not going to be able to use it. And really, every single module for the M97 surface installation needs to land successfully and hopefully within a radius that is not too incredibly irritating for me to drive. So that, I mean, I hate to say it, but I'll do it. I'll program Mech Jeb. I'll walk away and just let it do its thing overnight and hope that the game doesn't crash. And I know that's kind of a tall order when you intend to run KSB for 12 hours or so at a time. So we can only hope. Anyway, 1200 meters per second left in this capture stage, and it does look like we are on a solid course to get to where we need to be. So we'll set our alarm, leave it in a Kerbal alarm clock, and then switch over to what I can only assume is now the supply rover for real this time. Maybe I should just call this one the lab rover and just ran with it. See who was going to call me out on it. But 600 meters per second left in this one, and looks like this actually has the smallest amount of correction to make, barely a meter per second initially. It ends up being about 2.2 meters per second when we dial it in for about where we want it to go, which is super nice. So we're just going to let RCS handle this. I mean, eventually it's going to take a long time to pivot this big, slow behemoth around and get it to roughly where we need it to be. So, you know, that's just, I guess, the way of things. We do also have our Lima M supply pod, which I believe we will get to next, and the Chestnut M, which was pretty much dialed in when it left Earth, so we've just set an alarm for that. There was absolutely no shenanigans with the save file and things that KSP has decided to screw up for me. I assure you, there were no save file shenanigans at all, ever, because things like that don't happen in Kerbal Space Program. It's just not a real concern. So no save file has ever become corrupt and ruined orbital data because you passed through an SOI at a high time warp. So we're just want to establish that as a baseline fact. So RCS, this correction does take a little bit of time, but we will get it dialed in almost exactly, and then repeat the process. Set the node, set the alarm, move on to remove the old alarm, and then we will move on to our next craft, which is the Lima M. This, of course, is our kerosene and liquid oxygen supply tank that the crew of the second inbound Chestnut, BPR Chestnut, is going to need if they want to come back to Earth at some point. It won't be a full refuel, and that crew will probably be on station for at least one more window, if not two, depending on how well our surface operations go for us. So we will, of course, have a chance to resupply them again, and any crew that really wants to leave can probably leave on the current on-station Chestnut vessel, as there's plenty of room for more crew. It's just life support being the big limiting factor here. So about 13 or so meters per second on this correction. We will be using every single RCS port available to us because, hey, why not? And this is the smaller, older B upper stage from the DN6 series rockets. Not really as authoritative with its RCS, so it's a little slower making this correction, but no real point in lighting the engine for something that's going to take less than a second on that very powerful HG3 vacuum engine, and that is a pretty good correction. Our relative inclination with harmonious stations only about a degree, maybe two, so we're not going to concern ourselves too much with lining up that ascending descending node like we have for things in the past. So our next order of business is, of course, to return poor Dory here back to port. This craft was used to nudge our supply pod into its current, into an orientation where the solar panels would hit the sun so that we could power it up and make this correction burn, or make the burn the Mars ejection burn. Man, words. Terrible today. Terrible at all the words. So we should probably return this to Kawaii Potato Station. It'd be nice to keep it on station in case we need it for any crew-related activities and things of that nature. It is still very much just in a low Earth orbit, so it actually should not take a whole lot of effort at all to bring this little guy home. It's just a matter of timing and putting the effort in. But there's a burn on our AJ-10, so it'll bring us to within 30 kilometers of Kawaii Potato Station, and we're hoping we can just top off the rest of this on RCS, but of course not. Once we get down to about the 10-kilometer range, that separation at closest approach just kind of refuses to move much, if at all. So I'll tap on the keys for just a little while longer while I'm trying to sort this out, but basically it comes down to we're going to move a quarter orbit around, or a half orbit around or so. We're going to be about 90 degrees off from our point of closest approach, and we'll make our correction there. It looks like we can just do a little bit on the inclination side and a little radial, and we should see a very nice approach. We're just trying to figure out which axis we need to lean more into so that we can point ourselves in the I don't know, correct direction, and that should be very easy for us to dial this back in. So we will warp around and enjoy the absolutely incredible view that KSP does actually give to us sometimes. And there it is. Yeah, mostly anti-normal. Man, I hope I got that right. But we'll get ourselves dialed in and just touch that up on RCS and watch that separation at closest approach just dive down, coming into right around the 5 kilometers currently, and continuing to work its way back down. We're completely ignoring the node and just going based on the information that Mech Jeb is giving us. It's a whole lot better than what you can get in map view, and you get to enjoy much better scenery. So we've got that worked into about an 84 meter separation, and it will take 365.5 some odd meters per second for us to zero out our relative speed with the station and go ahead and start making our approaches for docking. Now, yeah, I wish I was just better at timing these things. I really should maybe set an alarm or, something for stuff like this, because this really should have been a relatively quick burn. I think stock KSP is telling us a minute 29, and yeah, I've already dipped into that and failed. Most other burns, node burns, you want half ahead, half behind. Rendezvous burns, you kind of want them all ahead if you can manage it. Some RCS correction to make sure you're dealing with the deviation in your separation at closest approach as you make said approach, because, well, if you screw it up and you've done a really good job of lining yourself up, you might just pile into your target and zoom. There goes our target. We didn't run into it, which I guess is a good day, but we flew way past it to the tune of almost 2 kilometers. But we'll just overburn our engines a little bit and then rely on RCS to kind of guide our way back in. We'll probably have to do an about face to bleed off some of this excess speed that we're generating now. We're up to 8.2 some odd meters per second total difference, which when we engage physics warp, yeah, the station kind of snap away, but when we disengage physics warp, it comes right back. So, it's okay. But we will be at 7.6 meters per second difference in speed, and yeah, we're going to wave off because our brakes not quite that good. So thank goodness we've got good thrusters, and we can go ahead and make our about face without tearing off any solar panels or blowing things up, or worse yet, slamming into that absolutely massive tank of storable propellants. That would have been a real bad day. But tragedy averted. I'm glad our flight computers are very skilled pilots, because some of us here at the program are absolutely just not very skilled pilots. So we're pretty much zeroed out. We're just starting to line ourselves up and make an approach for that docking port. We just want to make sure we can be well and clear of the docking adapter for SKS, because this thing did an intentional booping on orbit to a mission critical life support tank that is contained within the nose, and we should probably bring it home for service and repair. So that's probably going to be our next upcoming mission, is to roll out an SKS. Maybe we'll bring up a replacement shuttle vehicle for ferrying crew between low Earth orbit and one of our lunar stations. Although the lunar program still kind of on hold, so it just feels weird flying a shuttle like the SKS Heavy to orbit with an empty cargo bay just to bring something home without bringing something up in exchange for, I guess. Seems like we'd be spending a lot of fuel for next to nothing, but that is next on our itinerary, and it's a nice excuse to pick up a 3 Kerbal to low Earth orbit contract and make a little bit of money in the meantime, doing some science for somebody who really just wants to have 3 Kerbals in low Earth orbit for, whatever reason. So there's our rotation to make sure that we are not going to interfere with that SKS nose docking port. And we'll just go ahead and close in for our final docking approach, which is coming along very nicely, if I do say so myself. So for that little portion of it, I will just go ahead and turn you on over to Okay. This axis looks... I can't tell because KSP won't camera in that way. Bump, bump. Bump, bump. Bump. Boink. Look at that. I should be kind of proud of that one, shouldn't I? Ta-da! Dirtfish and Lunar Uber were also originally started by Cosmo, however perfected by Wookiee. Newman, how's it going? Welcome back. I don't know what we're doing next. Putting in the Astroglide. That was faster than all of the U2 dockings. It was. Extend. Panels cannot deploy while stowed. You mother... God damn it. It was literally the best docking ever. We're just making sure that everybody's solar roofs are getting a nice free burst from our orbital batteries. Because why not? Quick save is taken. We're going to jump back to the Space Center because no matter what we do, it's going to happen there. So we did start working on a new project, although we're going to get more into the details of this as I figure out whether or not it might actually be plausible. So for now, I'll just leave you with some of this, I guess, teaser footage, but we will be coming back to this project. Not in this episode, however. So that's going to do it for this one, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. And I will see all of you in the next one. So until then, see you later.